So what do you think about this? Get the idea of a flipped classroom, use the transmission component online in the unit class, elevates the Bloom's taxonomy attack, the heavy cognitive load stuff. Alright, I read this book, Disrupting Class. Anybody read this? It's mostly geared towards K-12. Clayton Christensen is an innovation guru from Harvard. He's gone through, every health and business. And then they said, hey, why don't you check out education, see what the innovation theory says there. And he says, well, honestly, we're probably the last industry on the planet that has not had a disruptive innovation yet. But we're in the middle of one. And so, if any of you feel a little disrupted with all these things, we're in the middle of a disruptive innovation right now. We have all these different things going on these delivery models. It's kind of turning things, it's flipping what we're doing a little bit. Okay? So, it's a good read and all that. It's more geared, but he talks about computer-based learning and how that is going to enable a lot of things we're talking about. And his holy grail, he thinks, and I tend to agree, the holy grail of education, customized learning. The industrial model, which we've had for the last 100+ years, right, is potentially dying at this point. The one-size-fits-all instruction, you notice, that targets about half of our students, right? And we've got the other 50% that maybe that isn't the right pace or the right time, or that they're not ready for that, or they're not ready to learn that fast, or they're ready to learn faster. So he's saying, let's leverage the technology to do customized learning for every student. I have children, and I know they're not all the same. And I used to teach high school, and I teach college, and I look at those students, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of diversity out here. And if I could customize my instruction to every one of them based on their needs, their motivation, what their goals are, pretty good. I think that's the holy grail of education, is if we could do this very well. But how do I scale myself to be an individual teacher for 120 students, right? And some technology is helping us leverage that. And I can create customized learning for every student based on what they need and how they learn and their different modalities. And wow, pretty cool. So, customized learning for every student. Let's say that's a good thing, right? Let's think this way. Get unlimited money. Let's say I was Bill Gates, and I wanted to get the best for my child. Wouldn't I have the best teacher in every subject come and work with them individually? And that tutor, and we all tutor, right? What happens when you're tutoring? You get in the mind of that student, right? And you ask them questions, and you get this feedback, this exchange. And I think this is where we're actually going on a larger scale. We're scaling ourselves, and all these technologies are helping to make this happen. Amatic students, right? Statway, Quantway, isn't that a more customized learning environment based on those particular students' needs, career goals? And all of a sudden we're not going to cram everybody into the STEM pathway. We're going to do based on everything else they want to do. We're actually customizing whole curriculums, right? This is a good thing, right? This is great that I have a student this is what they are gifted and want to do. And here's what they need help with. Let's target instruction for that student. It's powerful, it's dynamic. So how about different learning styles? I'm talking right now, using Prezi, maybe you don't like either of those, but wouldn't that be great if I had another way, or there's another professor who does it another way? There's an animation I can involve. There's another video. There is a tutorial. There is multiple ways based on every student's preferred learning style. I think we all agree we want deep procedural understanding. And I think another thing is we also want deep conceptual understanding. And I think a lot of the software and things we use right now are doing a great job on the bottom part of the taxonomy. And I think it's doing a really good job on some deep procedural understanding. And I'm saying, you know what? Us faculty, let's do math instead of computation and algorithms all the time. Let's push this. Let's push this in our class. Let's go deep conceptual understanding for every student. But it's a lot harder to teach that, isn't it? Problem solving, critical thinking, evaluation. But isn't that the pathway stuff that's pushing us to do as well? I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm just saying I think this technology is enabling us, freeing us to make this step. So I've noticed in my own classroom, I teach a developmental class, mastery-based. I let the lecture die. It about killed me last spring. I noticed as my students, as I was trying to customize learning to everyone, they got separated. I'm like, what I'm going to talk about here is relevant to 10 of them. Now it's my relevant to about 8 of them. So I started doing higher quality interactions with students. I get small groups, or I would do mini lectures, or I would sit down next to them one-on-one and work with them. And so I'm having higher quality interactions with my students. Not like what I'm doing. This is not a high quality interaction. Try to make it more student-centered, problem-based, and all of a sudden I'm becoming more of a facilitator/coach than the sage on the stage. Any questions? Is that my time up? That's my last 1 minute. I think I've got 1 minute for questions. What? I mean, as far as your feeling, is everybody else feeling this confliction about? I'm feeling tension every day, and when I gave myself the rights, I gave myself to say, you don't have to lecture today. Sure. So, when a student comes to you and they've gone through a learning experience, even me talking to them, that learning experience, success or non-success, whatever happened, the next step is to what? Take them where they're at and progress them, right? And the modality in which you do that, whether it's this, or I sit next to them, or I point them to a reference, maybe it's a reading, maybe it's a video, maybe it's an animation. I think the ability to do that exists now. I get an email from a student. Sometimes I can shoot an email back. That's it, done. Sometimes I got to make a video. Sometimes I got to reference con. Sometimes I got to do a lot more. But I think what I'm really doing is customizing the instruction for every one of them. And I'm no longer pigeonholed into one thing. This is the way it's going to be. It is uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable.
I don't think we have to throw away what we've already been doing well. We have now many things to add to it.
Yes.
And sometimes we can say, well, throw all of it because this is the way it's done now. And that's losing paths.
Well, the big knock on con is it's no different than what we've been doing, right?
That's right.
It's just lecture. So are we throwing it away? No. It's just that I have 2,400 customized videos that I can reference. That is the old way, which I think frees us up to do new and better ways. Higher level. Like my developmental students, I make them do projects. They're like, what are you making me do a project for? Why do I need to have any frame? I'm like, wouldn't it be great to know why you might want to use this? What's a function? What's a variable? Why would you have to solve an equation? Why do I have to graph this? What relevant is this? And so I think it elevates our role. Instead of always sitting down here in Bloom's tax all my time doing manipulation, skill building. Let's do math. Let's look at patterns. Let's look at data. Let's make it relevant. I think that's exciting to me. That's why I like math. I like solving equations. I mean, honestly, I like solving equations, but I'm a math teacher. But I think you're right. I think we leverage the technology to use what we've always done, the best of what we've done. But I think I'm just challenging us to go to the next step. So now that